Hi everyone, I'm Miss Paws, and you are watching Figures of Speech. This is part 2 of our video series, so make sure to check out part 1 if you haven't already. Our first figure of speech is going to be irony, or rather our first three, because there are three types of irony. Irony in the broadest sense is when what is expected differs from what actually is. The three types of irony found in literature are verbal irony, situational irony, and dramatic irony. Verbal irony is when a speaker says one thing but means another. Here's an example from J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Yeah, Quirrell was a great teacher. There was just that minor drawback of him having Lord Voldemort sticking out the back of his head. For those of you who aren't familiar with Harry Potter, first of all, check the books and movies out. They're really good. Second of all, Lord Voldemort is the most dangerous and powerful villain of the Harry Potter series. He's also pretty scary looking. Voldemort has a white face that resembles a skull and snake-like slits for nostrils. So my guess is, and I'm just going out on a limb here, that Harry Potter doesn't think Quirrell was a great teacher. Verbal irony is often used to introduce humor to the situation, make fun of something, or introduce a perspective. Situational irony is when something happening is very different from something expected. Here's a historical example for situational irony. Chinese alchemists invented gunpowder while trying to discover a formula for an elixir of immortality. Yikes. They wanted to extend people's lives, but instead created something that would shorten it. Now that's classic situational irony. In literature, it's often used to show the difference between appearances and reality or highlight personalities of characters. Dramatic irony is when the audience knows more about a conflict or resolution than the characters do. Dramatic irony is used in almost every Hallmark movie. Hallmark movies are romance movies on the Hallmark Channel that all basically have the same plot, but are addicting nonetheless. Guy meets girl, they hate each other's guts at first, then they slowly start falling for each other. And then, to create a totally fake conflict, the guy mishears something the girl says to her friends, and the guy gets offended or feels that he doesn't really have a chance with the girl of his dreams. And so there's some tension created, and the guy stays away from the girl. The girl has no idea what has happened for the guy to act this way. Eventually, as the plot unravels and is unnecessarily extended for 15 more minutes, I say this, but Hallmark movies are my guilty pleasure. The girl and guy realize it's all a big misunderstanding and they fall in love and live happily ever after. The end. Okay, so the dramatic irony here is that the audience always knows that the guy and girl are having a misunderstanding and that the guy impolitely eavesdropped on half of the girl's conversation. But the guy doesn't know he has heard half of her conversation, and the girl doesn't know that he was eavesdropping on her. Total side note, I am not typically one to give advice, but here's a piece of advice anyway to all my lovely viewers, my posse. Please follow eavesdropping etiquette. Listen to everything, or just don't listen at all. Dramatic irony is often used in plays and movies to create tension, suspense, empathy, or comedy, and keep the audience engrossed in the plot. Sarcasm, my absolute favorite, is when a speaker says one thing but means another. It's very similar to verbal irony, but sarcasm typically has a negative connotation as it's used to mock others. In the movie The Lion King, after the lion cub Simba excitedly breaks the news to his evil uncle Scar that Simba will be king someday, Uncle Scar responds, "Yes, well, forgive me for not leaping up in joy. Bad back, you know." We know that Uncle Scar wants to be king and is not at all happy for Simba. In fact, he goes so far as to kill Simba's father later in the movie and also tries killing Simba. So his response is indeed sarcastic, because he was never going to leap up in joy. Sarcasm is used in literature to add humor or cynicism as well as develop a character. Next up, we're going to cover modes of persuasion. Modes of persuasion are strategies of rhetoric used by a speaker to appeal to their audience. The ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle proposed three such modes: ethos, pathos, and logos. There's technically a fourth mode that Aristotle proposed as well, but we're going to skip it since it's a little different from the other ones we covered. Ethos is an appeal to credibility and ethics and often involves citing credible sources. For example, a commercial selling sunscreen might say 9 out of 10 dermatologists choose SPF 30 or higher for themselves and their families. You're more likely to believe me that choosing sunscreen with SPF 30 or higher is good for your skin when I claim that experts are backing me up. In this case, the experts are dermatologists or skin doctors. Ethos is used to build trust with the audience. Pathos is an appeal to human emotions. In his 1963 I Have a Dream speech, Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I have a dream that my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." He appeals to audience emotion by speaking about his family and their future. Doesn't that tug at your heartstrings? Pathos is used to evoke emotions in the audience and help them connect with the speaker or character's lives. Logos is an appeal to logic using facts, statistics, etc. An ad might say, "The new computer model has 1 terabyte of storage and 8 gigabytes of memory." By specifying statistics and listing out several features of the model, they're appealing to the audience's logical side of the brain. That is, if they have one. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Logos is used to persuade the audience into believing what the speaker is believing and establish credibility or ethos. Loose sentence or accumulative sentence is when a main idea or independent clause comes first, followed by a number of parallel dependent clauses. Here's an example from F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby, in which Nick Carraway reflects, "I began to like New York, the racy, adventurous feel of it at night, and the satisfaction that the constant flicker of men and women and machines give to the restless eye." "I began to like New York" is an independent clause. It can stand by itself and be its own sentence, but then it's modified with a series of dependent clauses that describe what Nick likes about New York. Loose sentences create the effect of naturalness and are often used by writers. A periodic sentence, on the other hand, is when parallel dependent clauses come at the beginning, followed by an independent clause. From Truman Capote's nonfiction novel In Cold Blood, like the waters of the river, like the motorist on the highway, and like the yellow train streaking down the Santa Fe tracks, drama, in the shape of exceptional happenings, had never stopped there. That is, until a family was murdered in cold blood. The sentence starts off with a series of dependent clauses and concludes with a single independent clause. Drama had never stopped there. Periodic sentences are used to create suspense and used less frequently than loose sentences. Polysyndeton is the repetition of conjunctions in close succession. From William Shakespeare's Macbeth, Macbeth soliloquizes, "Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time." After his wife's death, through his dialogue, Macbeth concludes that life is meaningless and empty and just goes on. In order to do this, he uses polysyndeton, repeating the conjunctions between the tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Also, side note, did you notice the personification used by Macbeth when he says, "Tomorrow creeps in this petty pace"? A plus if you did. Polysyndeton is used to create pauses in a sentence and emphasize a series of words. It's often used to give a sense of slowing down or create a rhythm that alternates between speeding up and slowing down. Asyndeton, on the other hand, is the omission of conjunctions. As Julius Caesar once wrote in Latin, "Veni, vidi, vici," which means "I came, I saw, I conquered." This is something Caesar said after he won a war quickly. There are no conjunctions between the different phrases. It is not "I came, saw, and conquered" or "I came and saw and conquered." Asyndeton is often used to give a sense of urgency. Well, I guess that's all for part 2. We learned about verbal irony, situational irony, dramatic irony, sarcasm, ethos, pathos, logos, loose sentence, periodic sentence, polysyndeton, asyndeton. Can you try to come up with your own examples for each of these figures of speech? Stay tuned for part 3 to learn more figures of speech.